Thank you. You're welcome back, all the catalogers. This is another round of our training on SINOPIA Link Data Editor for Catalogers. My name is Ibrahim Wada. Today, before I take you further into link data environment, I would like to gently brief you or give you some simple explanation on BIBFRAME. If you can look at this picture, today I will want us to understand BIBFRAME as a model with its classes and subclasses. As you know, link data cannot be possible without BIBFRAME. And BIBFRAME is a joint word. BIB for bibliography and frame for framework. So when these two words came together, we have bibliographic framework. I want you to understand something. For some of you that are familiar with Koha and New Gen Lib, you do know that whenever you want to make entries, you first of all have to pick a framework. This is very, very important. Framework for monograph, framework for serial publication, framework for video and audio, etc. And then you make your entries. But this time around, BIBFRAME is a kind of model or format that has decided to make things simple. BIBFRAME is an initiative to evolve bibliographic description standards to a link data model in order to make bibliographic information more useful both within and outside the library community. When a resource is cataloged, take for example a book, the resulting description includes information elements like author, what the book is all about, the various published forms, and information about copies of the book. But you find out, as I gave you the example from Koha and New Gen Lib and many other integrated library management systems, these bibliographic information were not categorized or are not grouped or are not placed in their respective framework or order. So if you are making entry, everything is based on MARC standard. So you are given a column to make your entries, and then you continue until you complete entering all your information. But BIBFRAME has decided to do something very simple for all the catalogers. BIBFRAME organizes this information into 3 core levels of abstraction. What I mean by abstraction is that something that you have to think about. It has to be something behind your mind. Whenever you want to go into cataloging or you want to go into data entry, on linked data, you think about 2 basic things, 2 core things. As you can see here, the work, the instance, and item. Think about these 3 things. And these 3 things I just mentioned, they are the classes. The first class, the second class, this is the first class, the second class, and the third class. So the work is the first class. And it has zones of classes. You can see that it has an agent, it has subject, and it has event. I will explain them one after the other. And instance 2 also has its own subclasses. You can see format and you can see publisher on the right here. The same thing goes to the item. Item, you can see a subclass of it held by and something like barcode. Now, let me tell you what work in BigFrame is. Work is the highest level of abstraction. A work in the BigFrame context reflects the conceptual essence of the catalog resource. Let's take example like the authors, the languages, and what the work is all about. Something like subject. So whenever we mention work in BigFrame, your mind should go to something like authors, the languages, and what the work is all about. Now, the work itself is subdivided into three subclasses. And let's talk about the agent first. Whenever you hear the word agent with respect to work in BigFrame, BigFrame as a model, agents are the people. They are the organizations. They are the jurisdictions, etc., and some of them associated with work or instance through which roles such as author, the editor, the artist, the photographer, the composer, and the illustrator are associated with works. So whenever you think about agent, we are simply referring to people responsible for the production of that work. And as I just mentioned them now, author can be, as I told you now, can be an artist, can be a photographer, can be a composer. It can be an editor. So all these things refer to the agent within work with respect to BigFrame model. And the subject, as you can see to the left here, the subject might be one or more concepts. A concept like maybe something like topics, something like places, or something like even temporal expressions, like events, like works, instances itself, like items, and even agents. They are all refer to the subject. The subject, literally, or from this point of view, refers to the subject matter. We normally say the subject matter, something that the book is written about. And the event is the occurrences, the recording of which may be content of the work. So when you are talking about the event, we are talking about the real happening. What the book, or when we took example as a book now, what is the book talking about? What is the story all about? What is the happening? What is the content? So whenever we refer to the event, we're talking about the content. And whenever we're referring to the subject, we're talking about the, as I just give you a very simple example now, the topics, the places, the items, the agents, and the event, and things that the whole textbook is all about, or the whole monograph is all about. So that is what you need to know about work. BigFrame has decided to keep this information apart separately so that you can now do your cataloging and do your entry freely, because you are going to see in future when we're going to be doing real entry in the linked data using SINOPIA as an editor. You are going to be seeing how we will be separating works into work, instance, and item. So when we are dealing with works, you'll be seeing how we'll be starting with agent, and then later we'll now start talking, providing information about the subject, and then we'll now be doing entry regarding event. So now you need to understand one thing before I continue. The BigFrame vocabulary consists of resource description framework, classes and properties. So whatever vocabulary we are going to be talking about, whatever vocabulary that you will use now to describe the information item has to do with these classes and properties, also classes that I just mentioned now. And as I told you, the classes include the three core classes listed above, listed as you can see: the works, the instance, and the item. So all other things around the classes are the subclasses, and many more of them, because these are just the basic for you to understand. And whenever you hear me talking about the properties, properties describe the characteristic of the resource being described, as well as the relationships among resources. For example, now, one work might be a translation of another work, or an instance may be an instance of, or a particular BIBFRAME work. Other properties describe attributes of works and instances. So, if I want to give you an example, I can say BIBFRAME property subject, for example, expresses an important attribute of a work. What about what the work is about? And the property extent is the number expresses an attribute of an instance. Along the line, for you to understand this concept of BIBFRAME in terms of the work, the instance, and the item, you should always keep at the back of your mind that any work we're going to be cataloging or we're going to be making entries about will be grouped into these three classes. And when we pick a class, that is work class, we will now be talking about the other subclasses. These are a few things I want you to understand. From the next topic now will be the literal. Because I told you about literals and looked up. These are the two ways you can make entries into the link data using SINOPIA as a web-based application editor. So thank you very much for listening. God bless you. I hope you enjoyed this training, and keep on watching and watching again, so that and you have to please try and like and subscribe to the upload I'm going to be doing, because as you do so, the YouTube will recognize our presence, and they can help us making sure that you get the notification about any training that I upload onto the website, YouTube website. Thank you, and God bless you, the catalogers.